From doing a menial job at a railway station in England and being called to the bar at Lincoln's Inn to becoming the world's greatest long-distance swimmer and turning into a successful businessman, Mihir Sen's life story is fascinating, and yet it is also tragic, because Sen was struck by Alzheimer's and lost the precious memories of his feats and was abandoned by relatives, friends, and well-wishers. In his last days, lying helpless in a hospital in Kolkata, the 66-year-old inhabited a world of loneliness and emptiness. He breathed his last on 11 June 1997, so not very long back. Mihir Sen, born on 16th November 1930 in Purulia district of West Bengal, was the first Indian to swim across the English Channel from Dover to Calais in 1958. Not just that, he did so in the fourth fastest time at that time, 14 hours and 45 minutes. 8 years later, he became the only person to swim across the oceans of 5 continents in one calendar year. They included the Palk Strait, the Dardanelles, Bosphorus, Gibraltar, and the entire length of the Panama Canal. The Guinness Book of World Records called him the world's greatest long-distance swimmer. Sen's mother, Leelabati, was determined to give him the best education the family could afford, though their financial condition was precarious. She supplemented her husband's income by selling chicken eggs and milk obtained from the 2 cows and chickens she kept in her backyard. The family shifted to Cuttack when they were 8, and so he could attend a better school. He graduated with a degree in law from Utkal University in Bhubaneswar, Odisha, all the while struggling for shortage of money. The financial crunch did not quite quell Sen's ambitions. With his mother's moral support, he began to go to England to prepare for the bar, but money was once again the problem. Then the Chief Minister Biju Patnaik came to his help, but only after relentless persuasion by Sen's family, and in 1950 he boarded a ship to England. He found a job in a railway station in the country and had to work night shifts. Found sleeping on duty one day, he was sacked. So Sen was told that India House recruited Indians for employment while they studied, and he made his way there. He was hired by the Indian ambassador V.K. Krishna Menon, but only after he had been initially turned down. He enrolled at Lincoln's Inn to study law in 1951. He would work through the day at India House, which meant that he could not attend classes, so he studied at night from books he borrowed from the institution's library. The hard work paid off, and he was called to the bar at Lincoln's Inn in February 1954. Now, this alone is quite an achievement, but here goes. Around that time, Sen happened to read an article about Florence May Chadwick, who became the first American woman to swim the English Channel in 1950. It inspired him no end, and he resolved to do the same. The problem was that he had virtually no experience in swimming. At that time, he barely knew the dog paddle, which he had learned in a pond in Cuttack. So, determined nonetheless, a trait that he had inherited from his mother, he enrolled for classes at the local YMCA club and mastered the front crawl or the freestyle technique after practicing for hours every day. On 27th of September 1958, he did what seemed impossible. He swam the English Channel. He was a national hero by then, and he returned home, and in 1959 he was awarded the Padma Shri. The achievements boosted his morale, and Sen set out for greater glories in his newly acquired sport. He became the first man to swim the oceans of the first 5 continents in one calendar year. But he first needed 45,000 rupees to pay the Indian Navy for both the record keeping and to navigate the Palk Straits. He raised half the amount through sponsors, notably Kolkata's The Statesman, the newspaper. The balance of amount came from, guess who? Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, who by the way is also featured in the book. With her nod, the Indian Navy's INS Sukanya and INS Sharada accompanied Sen on his swim. Sen became the first Indian on record to swim across the Palk Straits on 5th-6th April 1966 between Sri Lanka and Dhanushkoti. in 25 hours and 36 minutes. On 24th August, he became the first Asian to cross the Straits of Gibraltar between Europe and Africa in about 8 hours. On 12th September, he became the world's first man to swim across the 40-mile long of the Dardanelles and Gallipoli between Europe to Asia Minor in 13 hours and 55 minutes. The same year, he became the first Indian to swim Bosphorus in 4 hours. By this point, I suppose 4 hours kind of was not much. As well as the first non-American to swim across the entire length, the 80-kilometer length of the Panama Canal in 34 hours on the 29th and 31st of October. This achievement earned him a place in the Guinness Book of World Records as the world's greatest long-distance swimmer. He was awarded the Padma Bhushan in 1967. His exploits were recorded in the Black Books in Lincoln's Inn. Now, all of this would also have been enough. But then, look what he does. He returned to India in 1958, shortly after his English Channel victory. He practiced criminal law in Calcutta High Court, but later turned into a successful businessman. His company was recognized by the government of India as the country's second largest exporter of silk. While Mihir had navigated the difficult waters across the world, it was politics that went on to test him in a different way. The then communist government of Jyoti Basu in West Bengal wanted him to be one of the Marxist Party's campaigners. He refused, and look at this. Instead, he contested as an independent candidate against Basu. He lost, and the party and the government in West Bengal went on an overdrive against his business, fomenting labor trouble and destroyed his venture. Cases were initiated against him, his house and office were raided, and his bank account was frozen. He went bankrupt. He was left with no money even to feed his family. By the time he was 50, he had suffered a minor stroke and was a shattered man. When Jyoti Basu yet again approached Sen in 1988, he told him that all his problems would be resolved overnight if he joined the CPM. Though he was severely ill, Sen flatly rejected the offer. As a result, his problems only increased. As another writer said, such was the reward for a man who had brought such glory to his country.